This topic is for anybody who has ever felt the pull to do things differently in your family, even when it's hard. It's like the unspoken wounds that ripple through our families generation by generation by generation. When we bring healing to trauma, that is what breaks patterns. It's not just breaking a pattern for you, but it's breaking a pattern for your future children. It's bringing healing to the past as well as to the future. I had just gotten to a place where I was like, this stops with me. These patterns, they stop with me. They will not continue beyond me. You're literally being a ripple of healing for generations to come. And that is just so empowering. How freaking great that your grandchildren won't endure what your parents endured and what your grandparents endured. You're creating a legacy that's going to be a ripple for generations to come. Makes it all worth it. You just making that conscious decision, it starts today.
Welcome to Next Level You podcast. I'm Stephanie Dingbaum, your host, your biggest cheerleader, and your go-to girlfriend for real, raw, and uplifting conversations about leveling up in life. As a mental health therapist with over a decade of experience and a business coach helping women elevate their lives and businesses, I'm here to guide you through the mindset shifts, holistic practices, and manifestation tools you need to step into your most authentic, next level self. Whether you're here to ignite your personal growth, elevate your professional game, or simply rediscover you, this podcast is your invitation to dream bigger, go after your goals, and unapologetically claim the life you deserve. So grab your favorite drink, get comfy, and let's dive in. It's time to up-level, manifest, and glow.
Welcome back to Next Level You podcast, you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I just want to say thank you to all of you listeners. I have just gotten some really amazing feedback lately. The last couple of episodes have just really hit home for a lot of people and has just like normalized a lot of people's lived experiences. And like I always say, if the podcast just hits one person, I'm just always so grateful for that. And that's still happening. We're at episode 70 today and people are still resonating deeply with these topics. And it's just so reassuring that I'm on the right path and doing the right thing. So thank you guys so much for being loyal and listening. Just truly from the bottom of my heart, really appreciate it. Okay. I don't want to waste any time because I don't want to make this episode super lengthy. Like sometimes I know I ramble on and I don't want to do that today, but I'm talking about a really important topic. I'm talking all about intergenerational trauma today and being a cycle breaker. If this is a new topic for you, you might really love hearing all about this. If this is something you are familiar with, then I guarantee a lot of this is going to resonate with you and hopefully empower you in a way that nothing else has before. This is a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I have chosen to be a cycle breaker in my family. And it's just one of those things that as a therapist, I really see the value in making this empowering decision in your family lineage. But I also know just from research that I've done and trainings that I've gone through and just like influencers that I follow, like I know how heavy this work can be at times. And just recently, I have just really been feeling the heaviness of it in my own life. I don't know if it's because we just entered Mercury retrograde or what, but the energy lately has just been, it's been heavy. So I really felt pulled like, okay, I need to talk about this because I know there's other people that are feeling this. And I know like I have a lot of friends and family in my life who are also cycle breakers. And so I know how heavy this feels at times to people. And it can also sometimes feel like you're alone, like nobody else gets the heaviness of that weight that you carry as a cycle breaker. And I just think there's many reasons why this topic needs to be talked about. I'm just going to dive right in. So just to kind of break down everything that I'm going to be talking to you guys about today, I'm going to start by just explaining what intergenerational trauma is. In case this is a completely foreign topic to you, I want you to have a good understanding of what I mean when I say those words. I'm also going to explain to you what a cycle breaker is. That's common vocab here in my life, but again, it might be foreign to you. So I want to make sure you have a good understanding of what I mean when I say cycle breaker, because I'm probably going to refer to it in future sessions or in future episodes as well. I'm then going to dive in by just sharing like my personal experience with being a cycle breaker. And also in my therapy private practice, I do a lot of work with individuals on intergenerational trauma. So I just want to share my personal experience with that as well. And then I just plan on talking about kind of like the pros and cons, but the heaviness of choosing to be a cycle breaker, but also the empowerment that you get from making that decision as well. But there's definitely pros and cons to it. And then as always, I'm going to end with some practical tips for you guys if you're going to make the empowering decision to be a cycle breaker, and then give you some powerful affirmations and gratitude prompts to incorporate into your daily routine, as well as some journal prompts to dive deeper into this topic if that's something you wish to do. Okay. Before I truly dive in, though, I do want to say to you guys, kind of like a trigger warning, I guess, but I just want to say this topic is for anybody who has just ever felt the pull to do things differently in your family, even when it's hard. I want to say you're not alone. Like I said before, it can sometimes feel isolating when you choose to do the healing work, the heavy work. It's like heavy lifting. It's not easy, okay? But if you feel that pull, or you have felt that pull in the past, I just want to say, I hear you. I see you. I feel you. I've been there. I'm there with you right now. I'm going through it myself. I have been for the past 10 to like 12 years. So just know you're not alone. And there are other people out there making that same decision. The more you talk about it, I guarantee the more people you will meet who have also chosen to be cycle breakers. So, okay, let's dive in. So if you're like, what the heck is intergenerational trauma? I've never heard of this term before. You're not alone. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who, as they're hearing this, are like, this is completely foreign to me. So let me explain what I mean when I say intergenerational trauma. What that is, it's trauma that isn't just experienced by one person, okay? This is trauma that has been passed down through things like behaviors, beliefs, patterns, emotional responses, even through our DNA at times. So it's like the unspoken wounds that ripple through our families generation by generation by generation. I mean, we're talking deep work, okay? This is not like surface level work that we're talking about today. So just some examples of what intergenerational trauma might look like. This is not an exhaustive list, you guys. I'm really just covering ones that I'm most familiar with, or that I've dealt with, or that I help clients deal with. Things like patterns of addiction, abuse, avoidance, shame, silence, not speaking your truth, poverty mindset, people pleasing, perfectionism, emotional neglect. I could go on and on. Like this is by no means an exhaustive list, but these are some that I see in my own family, as well as some that I help clients work through in their families. Again, like these are things that if you take a step back and look at your family, let's say the past like 3 generations of your family, you see these patterns. They're not just in one generation. They are likely happening in the next and the next. Okay. If you're like, okay, why does this matter? Like, why are you bringing this up? Why is it important to the healing journey? I guess I shouldn't assume that this is common knowledge. To me, it's so basic and so common, but I shouldn't assume that everybody understands that. So let me explain. Unhealed trauma is going to repeat itself. When we bring healing to trauma, that is what breaks patterns. Okay. It's not just breaking a pattern for you, but it's breaking a pattern for your future children and for future generations beyond them. And it also is bringing healing to ancestors, which that might be a hard concept for some of you to wrap your head around, but I've done that work. And so I'm telling you, like, it's so powerful. It's bringing healing to the past as well as to the future. I mean, it's so powerful when we do this work of bringing healing to intergenerational trauma. I always like to use the quote, healed people heal people, and hurting people hurt people. So by bringing healing to intergenerational trauma, you are likely to heal other people in your current generation as well as future generations to come. And the reason that trauma gets passed down generation to generation to generation is because hurting people hurt people. So if we haven't brought healing to ourselves, if we're still hurting from this trauma that was inflicted on us by our parents, and you're not bringing healing to that trauma, you are inadvertently or consciously passing that trauma on to your children by hurting them. This is such important work, you guys. Like, I don't know a family that doesn't have a form of this, okay? Like, every family does to an extent. Okay, now I want to explain to you, what is a cycle breaker? A cycle breaker, when I use that term, what I'm saying is it's somebody who is consciously making the choice to stop the unhealthy patterns that have been passed down through generations. Okay, even when it's hard, even when no one else around them is doing this work, they are still making that conscious decision to bring healing to these unhealthy patterns or these traumas. So this often starts, just like with anything else, with awareness, okay? When I started my journey with wanting to bring healing to the trauma that has been present in my family for generations, it started because I read the book called It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wolin. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I apologize if I'm not. It's called It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wolin. Buy it. It's on Amazon. Amazing book, like life-changing for me, you guys. I'll put it in the show notes even. But this really opened my eyes to the unhealthy / toxic patterns that were existing in my family, and not just like my generation, but my parents' generation, the generation before them, and the generation before that, and probably before that. I mean, like, we're talking trauma that's just been passed down again and again and again and again. And I had just gotten to a place where I was like, this stops with me. No way in hell is this going past me. Okay. So it really starts with that awareness piece. And then taking it a step further, I worked on it through therapy, have done just countless self-reflections on this work, putting boundaries in place, reparenting. That sometimes has to happen. That's a part of the journey, and just lots of inner healing work, whether it be through Reiki sessions or Akashic record readings or journaling, hypnotherapy, like a lot of healing work, inner healing work has happened to bring healing to these things. I'm not saying that's how your journey has to be. That's just how mine was. And I'm going to dive deeper into that here in a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of give you an overview of what this looks like to be a cycle breaker. That's what my journey has looked like. And I want you guys to understand, I really like that term, this stops with me. Okay, if you have ever used that term, then you are likely a cycle breaker and maybe you didn't know it. Okay, but I started saying that term early on in my healing journey, and I still feel that heavily today. These patterns, they stop with me. They will not continue beyond me. This will not get inflicted on my own children. Like, I draw the line, a boundary is put in place. This is not happening from here on out. Okay. So I do want to be honest with you and share my lived experience as a cycle breaker. Like I said before, this is not by any means an easy, sunshine and rainbows journey. It can be really heavy at times. I mean, like I said before, I don't know if it's because we just entered Mercury retrograde or what, but like, it has felt so heavy on me lately. And I think that's why I'm deciding to talk about it, because I just finally realized, after I was actually talking to my cousin on the phone the other night, love Heather. I'm not going to mention her last name, but she's my cousin. We're first cousins, and she's 10 years older than me, but we have just grown so close over the last 10 years. Like, I lean on her so much, especially because she is also a cycle breaker in her family. And as we were talking about this, I was venting to her and just kind of like came to the realization that, like, okay, this needs to be talked about on the podcast. Like, I guarantee there's more people than just us out there. Like, I know for a fact there are, but people probably want to hear about this. And she totally agreed. So I'm like, I'm going to run with it. Okay. So let me share my story. I just really want you guys to know what this has looked like for me. So I kind of mentioned this already, but my journey started my wanting to heal intergenerational trauma in my family started about 10 to 12 years ago, somewhere between there. I don't know the exact time. But I started therapy now 12 years ago. And I think it was like either 2013 or 2014, somewhere in between there. And it was through therapy that I really had my eyes opened to what intergenerational trauma is and to what unhealthy patterns exist in my family, not just my immediate family unit, but like my extended family and generations of my family. Cycles that I was identifying in my family that I felt needed healing were things like emotional suppression. So specifically around women, and I know I've spoken to this before, most families do carry that feminine wound of like being afraid to speak our truth. And this isn't something that just started recently. A lot of women carry this feminine wound because most of us have a family member from the past, even from like the witch era, where women were quite literally killed for speaking their truth. And healing was not brought to them. They didn't have a chance to be healed. And so that was a wound that just continued for generations upon generations. And that's been a big one for me lately. I mean, it's literally why I started the podcast, is because I'm like, I have a voice. People deserve to hear it. You're going to hear it. And I'm going to bring healing to this. I'm going to speak my truth. So emotional suppression is a big one. And that's just one example of emotional suppression, but there's many, like when children are told like, you're only supposed to be seen but not heard. That's emotional suppression. Very unhealthy, toxic trauma that tends to be continued for generations. Others that I felt needed to be identified were lack of boundaries. That's a big one in my extended family. I feel like I preach about it all the time. And it's just tough. It's tough feeling like you're the only one modeling those healthy boundaries. I'm not saying I'm perfect at it, because by no means am I, but it's disappointing and sometimes just exhausting, the lack of healthy boundaries that are modeled. Other examples of trauma that has been passed down for generations in my family is narcissistic dynamics. I feel like narcissist is a word, it's like a hot topic word that gets thrown around way too much. We definitely over-identify people with this. In the grand scheme of things, there's not as many out there as we like to think, but there are people with narcissistic-like tendencies. It doesn't mean they are a full-on narcissist. I just feel like we need to be careful with that term. There's definitely narcissistic-like tendencies in my extended family that has been passed down as well. And that's just a really exhausting topic within itself. I'm not going to dive into that today.
Are you 5'4" or under? If so, listen up. This ad is for you. Did you know nearly half of women in the US are petite? Yet, shopping for stylish clothes that fit perfectly can feel impossible. For years, I struggled with this. Shopping in kids sections, dealing with oversized arms, long pants, and wasted money on alterations. I hated shopping because nothing ever fit just right. Then I found Short Story, a clothing subscription box specifically designed for petite women. Short Story is rewriting the fashion rules for petites, offering clothes tailored for all sizes, shapes, and heights under 5'4". They even design their lines based on feedback from their subscribers, people like you and me. Here's what makes Short Story amazing. Each box is personalized to your measurements and style preferences. No more alterations or guesswork. You choose how often you get a box. You can do monthly, bi-monthly, or quarterly. Every box includes 7 items, and I usually keep around 4 to 6 of them because they fit so perfectly. Their styling quiz lets you share your budget, style preferences, and even your Pinterest board for inspiration. Yes, I've literally manifested my Pinterest wardrobe thanks to Short Story. And lastly, after each box, you can give feedback to make your next box even better. So imagine never having to shop in stores again, feeling confident at every event you attend, and knowing your clothes were curated specifically for you. I've been a loyal subscriber for 6 years now, and I promise it's been a game changer. If you're ready to uplevel your style and show up as the best version of yourself, then give Short Story a try today. And then a bonus for my listeners, you can use the referral link in today's show notes to waive the $25 styling fee on your first box.
Let Short Story handle the hassle while you show up stylish, confident, and ready to take on the world. So I started my journey after I read the book, It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wolin. And it was around that time that I also was starting to see a clinical hypnotherapist in my area. Through the exercises in that book and then debriefing those exercises in therapy, it changed my life. My self-awareness grew. I just cannot emphasize enough how my eyes were just opened in such a big way at that time in my life. And that was around the time when I was also going to grad school. I mean, it was just like my life had changed because of my eyes being open to like, oh my God, this work is so powerful. I had no idea. And I didn't know at that time that I wanted to open my own practice. But now that I have my own practice, it's one of the main healing modalities that I offer is like, let's dive into intergenerational trauma together. And then the other piece of that being the hypnotherapy, that allowed me to, in a really deep way, like access my subconscious and bring healing to these previous ancestors, these previous generations that are not doing this healing work. So now I find I'm not as heavy into the work personally as I used to be, but there's definitely times that it comes up and that I feel like I need to journal on it, or I need to meditate on it, or I need to debrief about it in therapy or something. It's just the bulk of the heavy work that I did around this really stemmed from those, I don't know, like 3 to 6 years that I was focusing on it in therapy with my hypnotherapist that I was seeing at the time. I do want to talk about that when you decide to be a cycle breaker, unfortunately, there can sometimes be resistance or backlash from other family members. And I want to explain to you that a lot of times this resistance just stems from a lack of understanding or a misunderstanding. A lot of people do not understand why people choose to be cycle breakers, why intergenerational trauma is like what it is or why it's important. It's just because they don't understand. And people who lack that understanding do tend to project their insecurities onto other people. And so you have to really have a hard outer core and not take it so personal when other family members lash out towards you for choosing to stand your ground and do this work. It's just because they don't understand. That's what it comes down to. And you can't force them to understand. You can explain yourself and you can explain what this is and why you're doing it. But at the end of the day, you can't force somebody to understand or see things the way you see things. I will say I was met with a lot of misunderstanding, but I stayed firm to my boundaries. And, you know, when family members would ask why I was doing what I was doing or why I was putting these boundaries in place, I would just explain that these are patterns I've noticed in our family for generations now, and it stops with me. Over my dead body, am I going to be passing these unhealthy / toxic traits or habits onto my children? I won't do that. I won't put them through that. And so when you put it like that, then sometimes people will back off and be like, I never thought about that. So it's okay to advocate for yourself and explain yourself. Just do it in a non-aggressive way, I feel. Sometimes that's hard, but I feel that's important because you're going to get met with a lot more resistance if you come at it from an aggressive stance. I mean, nobody likes that. Then people get defensive. So, and then I also want to add that since becoming a mom, that has really amplified my desire to break cycles. And if I'm being completely honest, like I knew even back then when I first started therapy that I wanted to be a mom someday. I mean, I knew this was part of my life's journey. And that's what really motivated me back like before grad school when I first started this work. What really motivated me was because I just knew someday I was going to have a family of my own. And I hated the heaviness and the pain that I carried from these triggers, from these toxic patterns. And I really didn't want my children to have a similar childhood or lived experience that I had. I didn't want them to endure any of what my other family members have endured. My mom, my sister, aunts, uncles, cousins. I don't want any of that for my children, which that was the big motivating force in choosing to do this heavy work, this heavy lifting. But then, yeah, like I said, becoming a mom really amplified that because I've been doing that healing work prior to being a mom. But now that I am a mom, it's like, thank God I did the legwork early and started bringing healing to these unhealthy and toxic patterns. There were a few moments where I just knew I was doing the right thing. You know, like I got that validation that I was doing the right thing. For example, in the beginning, when I first started reading the book, It Didn't Start With You by Mark Wolin, one of the exercises in that book prompted me to make a genogram for going back like 3 generations. So starting with me and then my parents' generation, then my grandparents' generation. And through that work, it was so eye-opening because I thought I knew a lot about my family lineage and history, but it wasn't until I drew out that genogram and like really dove deep into some of the traumas that other family members have endured that at least I was aware of. And then I did have to sit down with my mom after I drew the genogram and ask her a few questions even. And I did the same with my dad when I first made it. And there were things that I was not aware of through making that genogram that was so eye-opening. And it's like, oh my gosh, like you're cracking open like such valuable information when you do that work. I mean, you might think you know your family's history, but doing the genogram can really open your eyes to things that maybe you weren't aware of. So that really, doing the genogram was so empowering for me and so eye-opening for me. If you've never done one, I highly recommend it. If you don't know what that is, DM me and I can share some links with you. Another validating moment was just seeing the signs of the trauma and how prevalent it was, not in my immediate family. I'm talking my extended family. Seeing those signs of how prevalent these patterns were just validated like, yeah, this has to stop with me. This has to end here. I cannot let this go on for another generation, at least for my family. I can't speak for like all of my cousins and my siblings and whatever, but at least for my immediate family, it's not going to get passed on. And then another validating moment was just the encouragement that I got from loved ones who are like-minded like me. I have a couple of cousins that are very similar to me in that way. And when I was explaining to them this work, one cousin in particular, she's doing this work as well. And we can talk about this and we can, like use each other as sounding boards. And it's just been so validating that I'm doing the right thing by doing this work. And it's been empowering for both of us because she sees these patterns too. And so it's like, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not crazy, right? Like you see these unhealthy and toxic patterns as well, right? And I think it's so powerful when there's multiple people in a family who choose to do this healing work because then you really don't feel isolated and alone because it can feel that way. So I want you to know, like, you'll get those nudges too. You'll see those signs too. You'll get that validation. And you'll just be so reassured that, like, I'm doing the right thing by doing this work. And I just want to say, let yourself be raw. When you're going through doing this work, talk to somebody about it. Be vulnerable with somebody about it, somebody who understands, because it can feel heavy. Whether you're talking about it with your therapist or another family member or a good friend, talking about it will really help to build that connection and trust. And it will really help so you don't feel as isolated because sometimes this heavy work can feel isolating. Okay. There is a heavy side to choosing to be a cycle breaker. Okay. And I think it's really important to talk about this because specifically in this past week, I have been feeling the heaviness of this work. The heavy side is feeling misunderstood or sometimes isolated, like I just mentioned. And in general, it can feel heavy when you are navigating narcissistic-like tendencies or narcissist family members, because people with those tendencies, they see this work as like threatening to them. And the other heavy side with this is like those people who see your healing as a form of rejection against them. I definitely have experienced that in my family. And that can really make it hard. You just get that resistance, you get that pushback sometimes. But again, it's just because they lack the understanding of why you're doing what you're doing. Either they're lacking the emotional maturity that you have, or it's just foreign to them and they've never thought to ask you, or instead of asking you, they're just meeting you with that rejection and resistance. And that's hard. That's very frustrating. The other heavy parts of choosing to be a cycle breaker are the guilt, grief, and anger that might surface as you choose to break away from these unhealthy patterns. It's not that you're breaking away from people. That's not what's happening here. You're breaking away from those patterns. Sometimes they have made the heavy choice to break away from people. That's unfortunate, but we don't choose our family. I mean, we do prior to conception, or that, at least that's what I believe. And here on this earth, we don't choose our family, right? And so unfortunately, sometimes you do have to choose to put boundaries in place with certain family members because of the toxicity that relationship brings to your life. And hopefully it's not forever, but sometimes it's a temporary need in order to bring healing to your life. And that's okay. I've had friends that have had to do that. And while it's not ideal, sometimes it really is for the best for your sanity and for your mental health and your own peace. It is for the best. But I just want to acknowledge that it is normal to experience guilt. It is normal to experience grief and anger. Those are all normal emotions that you will experience if you choose to be a cycle breaker, if you choose to bring healing to intergenerational trauma. And then the other heavy part of making this choice to be this person is also the emotional, mental, and spiritual labor that's involved with doing this healing work. I will say, while it's heavy, it's also been extremely empowering for me. So that part is like a toggle between both. Like, yes, it's heavy work, bringing healing to yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, but it's also so freeing in a way. It gets to be. Okay. So there is a heavy side to this. And I've been feeling that lately. It's been one of those things that, you know, when you have certain dynamics like the lack of boundaries or the narcissist-like tendencies, the gaslighting, things like that, those things can just really put the weight of this on you sometimes. And it's at times like this that I'm just really grateful that I have support within my own family, like somebody who gets what I'm dealing with, but also gets why I'm doing this healing work. That can really help with not carrying the heaviness alone. But I also want to talk about the empowering side of all of this, because I truly feel like while this work is really heavy, it's also extremely empowering. Okay. You ultimately, by doing this work, you are creating a new legacy that generations to come following you will get to experience. That's freaking amazing, you guys. That makes it all completely worth it, if you ask me. Like, how amazing that you get to start this legacy that was not necessarily present before you. Another empowering side of being a cycle breaker is just the freedom to live differently. Again, that sometimes gets met with resistance. I understand that. But you choosing to take control back and giving yourself that freedom, that's so freaking empowering. I can tell you from experience, it feels so empowering. Another empowering side is getting to watch your child or your children experience a healthier emotional environment. That is huge. I can't emphasize that enough. I mean, Augie is only 4 months, but I am just so excited to see how he gets to grow without that, or without those emotional traumas. It's going to be so great for him. And that makes me so excited. I'm so glad I've done this work, because it's just so empowering knowing your children won't have those same traumas popping up for them. Another empowering part of this is you are connecting with more aligned community and chosen family, right? Like, we have our given family, but then we have our chosen family, like friends outside of the family unit that are also going through doing this heavy work that we then make as like a chosen family member. And when you lean on people like that, it makes this this work that also when you choose to connect with aligned community, like like-minded people who have similar values to you, it makes all of this work completely worth it. And then the last thing I want to mention that is just really empowering about being a cycle breaker is the ripple effect that you are bringing into your family. You're literally being a ripple of healing for generations to come. And that is just so empowering. I mean, how freaking great that your grandchildren won't endure what your parents endured and what your grandparents endured. And they'll have a healthier mindset around money. They'll have healthier boundaries in place. Like, how freaking amazing is that? That's so great. Again, you're creating a legacy that's going to be a ripple for generations to come. Makes it all worth it. Even the heavy lifting makes it all worth it. Okay, if you're listening to this and you're like, hell yes, sign me up. I want to be a cycle breaker. It's you just making that conscious decision. It starts today. Okay. But I want to give you some empowering advice because I know this work is not always easy. I want you to know that you don't have to heal all of it all at once. I mean, that I think is quite impossible. I mean, I don't want to say impossible. I'm sure it's possible, but you don't have to. Don't put all of that on yourself. That's putting way too much on yourself. Start small, but stay consistent. That is the key. Start small. Read the book. Go to therapy. Debrief it in therapy. Form a support system of other like-minded individuals. You don't have to go through this alone, but just baby step it, okay? Another tip, set boundaries, okay? Boundaries are really freaking hard. Just when you think you've perfected boundaries, then it's like you're thrown for a loop and now all of a sudden you're struggling with boundaries because there's so many different kinds of boundaries. There's emotional boundaries, there's physical boundaries, mental boundaries, there's financial boundaries. I mean, there's so many different kinds that just when you think you've become an expert in one, the other one is like tanking for you. And it's very frustrating. I don't know if you can ever be perfect across the board when it comes to boundaries. We're only human, right? But try to set those boundaries even when it's uncomfortable. It gets uncomfortable, okay? I have family members who did not and still do not understand why I have certain boundaries in place that I do. I don't need them to understand. I don't have to defend myself. I need to know the reason, and I feel my husband needs to know, maybe my future children. But besides that, they don't have to know, or they can know, but if they don't understand, I don't have to make them understand. Okay, that's not your job. Surround yourself with people who support your growth. That is so important. I can't stress that enough. It is vital to doing this healing work because you're doing such heavy work, you guys. You need a support system. You need to not feel isolated and not feel alone. Your future self will thank you for that. And you're going to see the growth happen over time, and it's going to be so freaking empowering. I also cannot recommend enough the importance of getting professional support, whether it be therapy, whether it be a coach of some kind or support groups, whatever it needs to be, whatever your comfort level is, make that investment. If not for you, for your children, make that investment, okay? Like, I seriously wish my parents would have made this decision when I was young to get therapy and to work on this stuff. It would have saved us a lot of heartache, but I just really encourage you to consider getting professional support, especially because this is such heavy work. Another tip is just allow rest in this journey. Allow downtime. You are carrying a lot. This is the trauma, the intergenerational trauma that you are bringing healing to is heavy work. It's a lot, okay? You're carrying a lot of emotional trauma, a lot of emotions connected to these toxic and unhealthy patterns. And the healing journey deserves gentleness. That gentleness comes in the form of rest. Give yourself permission to rest when you're doing this work. It is needed. Your body's going to tell you if it needs it. You're going to get signs and symptoms that are going to pop up. Listen to your body. It's telling you, it's sending you signals. The last tip I want to give you is just celebrate your wins, okay? Even the small ones. Like when I made my genogram and my eyes were open to things that I was not aware of prior to that, that was a huge win for me. Like I'm bringing something to the surface that I was not previously aware of. That's a win. That's a baby step in the right direction. We are slowly but surely bringing healing to generations to come. That's huge. So celebrate those wins in your healing journey because small wins add up over time to being ginormous, huge wins for you, for your family, for future generations to come. Okay, like you guys know, I love to end with affirmations and gratitude statements. So I really encourage you, if you're not already doing daily affirmations or daily gratitude, incorporate it into your life because it is a game changer. Okay, so write these down, pause, put them into your notes app in your phone, whatever you need to do. These are specifically geared towards if you're choosing to be a cycle breaker and bring healing to the intergenerational trauma in your family. Things like, I am allowed to do things differently than my family did. I am breaking cycles and building something beautiful. It is safe to set boundaries and protect my peace. My healing creates freedom for me and future generations. I honor the strength it takes to grow beyond my past. I am grateful for my awareness and willingness to heal. I am grateful for the strength I carry to break harmful patterns. I am grateful for the moments of growth, even when they are hard. And I am grateful for the version of me who keeps choosing better. And then some journal prompts, you guys, if you want to just really dive deeper on this work and you don't want to wait for that book to arrive from Amazon, again, pause and put these into your phone if there's something you want to spend time on. What cycles or patterns have I noticed in my family that I no longer want to carry forward? That's a big one. That's going to be eye-opening for you. What beliefs about myself or the world did I inherit, and do they still serve me, or do I need to release them? What does being a cycle breaker mean to me personally? Where do I still need to give myself grace in this journey? Who or what can I lean on for support as I continue breaking cycles? These are going to be huge for you doing this work. So spend some time on these journal prompts, okay? And then maybe take them to therapy and debrief about this in therapy. Okay, that's all I really have for you guys today. This is a heavy topic. I don't want to just continue to ramble on about this because sometimes with heavy stuff, you just got to state it, put it out there, and be done. So spend time thinking about this. Spend time journaling on this. Your future you will thank you. It's freaking powerful work, I'm telling you. I just want to end this by saying being a cycle breaker is sacred, powerful work. And it's okay if it also feels heavy at times. That's normal. Okay? But just know you're not alone in this journey. And also, I want you to know your healing is valid. Your growth is changing lives, both seen and unseen. I hear you, I see you, I feel you. Just know you are not alone. If this really resonates with you, I really encourage you to share the episode in your stories and, DM me if there's something specific that resonated with you today. I'd love to hear from you, and tag a friend if you know that there's a friend in your life who could really benefit from hearing this topic. And I just want you guys to know how much I really appreciate you tuning into the podcast. It's just been so rewarding hearing from you guys week after week, and I just really appreciate it. So thank you again from the bottom of my heart. And until next time, you guys have a great week, and I will talk to you guys all next week.
Real quick before you go, I just want to thank you so much for spending a little time with me today. And congratulations on showing up for you. Every step you take to invest in yourself brings you that much closer to your next level self, and I'm so proud of you. If you loved this episode, share it with someone who could use a little inspiration, or take a screenshot and tag me on socials so we can keep spreading the next level you energy. Thanks again for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode. Let's freaking go!